All right, welcome back to the deep dive, everybody. Today we're going to be doing something pretty wild, I think.
Yeah.
We are going to be exploring
Right?
some pretty out there theories
Yeah.
about pyramids. And we're doing this based off of a really interesting discussion.
That's right.
That was on the Sahiladin podcast.
Yeah, it's a fascinating episode.
And we're going to be trying to suss out what we think is going on with all this.
Right.
And we're going to be talking about pyramids and
Pyramids in space.
space science.
Yeah.
The guest speaker on this episode is really suggesting that these pyramids that we see all over the world, that they're not just tombs for pharaohs.
I mean, some of them maybe,
Right.
but not all of it.
Yeah, not all of them.
Yeah.
And in fact, he's even suggesting that they were built with some knowledge of astronomy.
Yeah.
And maybe even served a purpose.
Right.
That was related to space.
Yeah, that's his assertion.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's intriguing. I mean, because you think about like how many pyramids there are in the world.
Right.
And, like,
how they're spread out.
You know, we always think of like
Egypt.
The Giza Plateau.
Yeah.
But they're all over the place.
Yeah.
And they're not.
And he actually brings up a really good point, I thought, which was that, like, there's this alignment with true north.
The true north.
With many of the pyramids.
Yeah.
And
require a pretty advanced understanding
so you have the Earth's geography.
of the Earth and its magnetic fields.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And also the alignment of certain pyramids with certain constellations.
Yeah. The Sphinx is a great example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like aligning with the Leo constellation on a particular day.
Right.
That's pretty...
That's hard to write off as a coincidence.
Yeah. That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
It really does make you wonder if they were using those structures for some sort of astronomical observation.
Right. Very possible. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he brings up Nikola Tesla.
Ooh. That's where things get really interesting, I think.
Yeah. This is where I was like, okay.
Right.
Now we're getting to some interesting territory.
And we're cooking.
Yeah. So what's the connection with?
So what's the connection?
The pyramids and Tesla.
So he's suggesting that Tesla was obsessed with pyramids and thought that there was some knowledge to be gleaned from studying them. Yeah. And that's where his idea...
But the guest speaker
hang
that.
Yeah.
Tesla's pursuit of free energy
came from his study of the pyramids.
May have been connected to some insights that he gained from the pyramid.
Right.
Okay, hold on.
Okay, so free energy.
Free energy. This is a really kind of slippery term.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is he even talking about
It's not really explicitly defined in the podcast.
Right.
But he's suggesting that Tesla...
Okay, so we think Tesla thought
Yeah.
free energy was.
Okay, so I mean,
Yeah.
Tesla was convinced that there was a way to tap into this universal energy field.
Okay.
Right? This like source of energy that's just kind of like
That's
all around
the
it.
basis.
Yeah, ambient energy.
Okay.
And how he thought he could achieve this is still debated today.
Right.
A lot of people thought he was kind of...
I could see how people would be out there skeptical.
Yeah, even back then it was fringe science.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, okay, so how does that
The guest speaker is suggesting...
relate to the pyramids, though? That the pyramids might be the key.
So, like, is he saying that...
The pyramid shape itself?
So, like, like the geometric shape of the pyramids, their alignment with certain energy fields.
Yeah.
Or maybe even some kind of hidden chamber within them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's not really saying what...
He's not really
giving us any...
Pyramids. Yeah. He's leaving it very open-ended.
Tesla was interested in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's a pretty crazy concept.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like...
It's pretty wild.
Ancient astronauts, almost.
Right.
But it's coming from Tesla.
Right. Exactly.
So it's hard...
You got to take it
to just, like, write off complete...
Yeah. I mean, this was...
It really does make you wonder
in mind,
what they were capable of back then.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then he also talks about this kind of like...
He talks about human fascination.
The human fascination with
heavens.
With the heavens and the mysteries of the universe. Yeah. It's like...
We're hardwired to,
look up at the stars.
In wonder.
Yeah. And to seek knowledge.
Yeah. Quotes a line from the Quran.
Yeah. What was the quote?
Look above. Why don't you understand?
That's so good.
It's a good one, right?
Yeah.
And he also reflects on his own experience of seeing the Milky Way in all its glory.
Yeah.
in a place with no light pollution.
Yeah.
He was somewhere really remote.
I've never seen a truly dark sky.
I've been lucky enough to a couple times, and it's really something. It makes you feel very small, very insignificant.
Yeah, it's amazing though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is amazing.
Awe-inspiring.
Yeah.
Well, and I think
that's why
you're so fascinated with
why these topics like pyramids and space
ancient history
are so intriguing because it's like
they tap into that
primal
urge to understand, where we came from and where we're going.
And our origins.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But he also acknowledges in the podcast.
Right. There's another voice on this podcast.
Yeah.
And he raises some concerns about how the guest speaker.
Is he saying that he's kind of communicates his ideas?
Getting a little carried away.
Yeah. With all these big ideas without really explaining them.
Grounding them in any concrete explanations.
Right. Yeah. He's just like,
he's throwing out ideas,
all these amazing ideas, but not really giving us much to chew on in terms of like how we can actually, understand them.
Yeah. Yeah. So he needs to
connect
afflates a little more clearly.
He provides more evidence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a very fair.
That's a good point
To make.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's easy to get caught
up in the excitement
of these new ideas.
Yeah. But then you have to step back and be like, okay.
Take a step back.
And be like,
oh, what does this even mean?
All right,
what does space science even mean? How do we ground this in reality?
Evidence.
Yeah. Are there any alternative explanations?
Exactly. Yeah. So we need to keep those questions in mind as we continue.
So it's like we need like a roadmap to figure out.
We need to connect the dots here.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I thought was interesting was he mentioned that
he said that there are like over 580 pyramids.
Over 580 pyramids that are larger. Than the Great Pyramid.
Than the Great Pyramid at Giza.
But at Giza.
Which is mind-boggling.
Yeah. And many of them are like...
Here says that many of them are hidden.
Waiting to be discovered.
Yeah, waiting to be discovered.
Like, what could they be hiding in there?
If that's true.
Yeah. That really does make you wonder about, like,
It definitely seems to scale and purpose.
That weren't just tombs.
Yeah.
If they were just tombs,
right.
Why would they?
Why why hide them?
Yeah.
That's the point of all the secret.
What are they hiding?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then he also mentions that he went on this trip to Indonesia.
Oh, yeah.
And he was invited there.
Yeah, tell me about this.
By
so he was invited there by
a group that was trying to develop this educational curriculum.
That was working on developing an educational curriculum based on
constellations?
Constellations and mathematical concepts.
Like what was
kind of a cool idea.
The purpose of that.
So, I mean, the idea was to present math in a more like visual and engaging way by connecting it to the stars.
That's awesome.
Kind of tapping into that
human
fascination.
Yeah, instead of just like abstract formulas.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of, rote memorization, you're actually like looking at the night sky and learning about math through that.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a cool concept.
And during his time there, obviously the conversation turned to Tesla and pyramids.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I mean,
it always comes back.
It seems like that's kind of his go-to, his obsession.
And he brings up that.
So he makes this observation about how Tesla's work is often like
misunderstood
and even like dismissed as like conspiracy theories.
Right.
Yeah.
But he thinks that
the guest speaker is saying that
Tesla was really onto something.
Tesla was onto something revolutionary.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that this was connected to...
And he thinks that it's all tied back to the pyramids somehow.
So we're back to this free energy.
Yeah.
Okay, is there anything in the episode where he actually says...
So yeah, he doesn't really go into specifics about like what
Tesla might have discovered
from studying the pyramids.
What is it about the pyramids that
he kind of leaves that Tesla's interested in?
Open to speculation.
Okay.
Which I know can be frustrating.
It's very frustrating.
Yeah. It's like we're getting all these like you're tantalizing hints.
Yep, getting blue balls here.
Not the full picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, just tell me.
And I think that's where it's important to be like discerning.
Do we need to be a little
especially when you're dealing with these kind of unconventional ideas.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
You don't want to just like...
We can't just like accept everything.
Believe everything we hear.
At face value.
Yeah.
Right? You got to be critical. You got to ask questions.
What kinds of questions should we be asking?
Consider alternative explanations. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the other...
Which, to be fair...
The other speaker on the podcast...
is doing a pretty good job of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's pushing back a lot on...
Stephanie Guest is saying.
Pushing back.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
he's urging him to be...
Yeah, he's asking for more clarity and imprecise in his explanations.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's...
Yeah, he's basically saying, like...
A fair point.
How do we take these, like, abstract theories and translate them into tangible applications? Like, what are the real-world implications?
Yeah, of what you're talking about.
Otherwise, we're just going to be...
Yeah, otherwise we're just going to be lost in a world of speculation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
need that
it's a balance between, like, a sense of wonder and that critical thinking.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not about, like...
dismissing these...
just, like, shut down everything that...
It's about, like, exploring them rigorously.
Right.
And thoughtfully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we also have to be skeptical.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what makes this deep dive so compelling, I think.
Yeah.
It's
like we're on a quest for knowledge.
We're engaging with these, like, potentially paradigm-shifting concepts.
Yeah, but
we're being critical.
We're doing it with a critical eye.
Yeah.
We're
looking at all the...
asking tough questions.
And we're encouraging skepticism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So it's a journey. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what's so cool about, like, our listeners.
Yeah.
Is that...
they're part of the journey.
Yeah, they're a part of this.
Yeah.
Like, we're not just, like...
We're not just talking at them.
Throwing out information.
We're inviting them to participate.
We want them to be a part of the conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as we wrap this up, I guess let's just take a moment.
Let's reflect
on what we talked about.
What we've learned.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we started with
this
idea that pyramids might be more than
just tombs.
Just tombs.
Yeah.
Right, that it might be connected to.
That they're connected to
some
sort of like
space
science
that we don't really understand.
Yeah. And
we also talked about the alignment
of the pyramids.
With, like, celestial bodies.
With the stars. Yeah. With true north.
And, like, how that implies that they had, like, a
really
advanced understanding of...
A pretty advanced understanding of astronomy.
Yeah.
Especially for, ancient civilizations.
That's pretty wild.
It's remarkable.
Yeah. And then, of course, we had to
bring up Tesla.
We talked about Tesla, his obsession with the pyramids.
And the possibility that he
might have
drawn some information
from the pyramids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very intriguing idea.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
It really does.
Makes you think differently.
Our assumptions about...
about history. Both ancient history
and like the potential of God on
science.
What we could do now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think
the biggest takeaway for me is that we have to be open
to new possibilities,
questioning assumptions,
yeah,
and remaining open to new possibilities.
It's so easy to just like get stuck in our ways.
It's easy to get stuck in that conventional thing.
Not even consider things that are
dismiss
outside of what we think.
It falls outside of the accepted narrative.
Yeah.
But
history's full of
examples
of people who like
groundbreaking discoveries,
discovered new things
that were initially met with skepticism.
That's resistance.
That's not real.
Yeah.
So
it's about
finding that balance.
Finding a good balance between skepticism and
healthy skepticism,
open-mindedness.
Yeah, open-mindedness. Like question everything.
Accept everything we hear.
But also be open to new ideas.
At face value.
Yeah.
But we also shouldn't just shut down.
Don't just shut it down.
Any new ideas.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
And that's what makes these topics so fascinating, I think.
It makes you...
They push us to expand our understanding of what's possible.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
So
I guess to leave everybody with something to think about.
Yeah. Here with the final thought.
If these pyramids were built,
if
these knowledge
were just now
a knowledge of science,
starting to understand
that we're only beginning to grasp,
What else?
What other secrets
we know
might they hold?
Yeah. What other mysteries about ancient civilizations are still out there?
Yeah.
Yeah, something to think about.
That's a good one.
As you're gazing up at the stars tonight, contemplating the vastness of the universe.
That's great.
And the incredible potential of human ingenuity.
All right. Yeah. Well, thanks everyone for joining us for this.
Thanks for joining us.
Deep dive on the Sahil Adim podcast.
Yeah.
Be sure to check out.
Part 1 and 2.
Parts 1 and 2.
If you haven't already.
And we will see you next time.
See you next time.